Hi everybody, I'm Jeff with Virginia Paranormal Investigations, and today we have a very interesting case for you. Now this isn't a normal paranormal investigation case. This is actually a court hearing where I've been called in as the expert witness. And in the proceedings of the court hearing, the judge has allowed evidence of paranormal activity to be brought into the courtroom. Now we're going to tell you a little more about this hearing as we go down and we actually interview the client in North Carolina. But our first goal as we go down to interview this client is to determine whether or not she is possessed. So we're going to bring you with us and keep you posted along the way, and perhaps, if we're allowed to, show you some clips from the interview with her as we're determining whether or not she is indeed possessed. Alright, so we're here with Susan in Knightdale, North Carolina, and you have quite an ordeal that you're going through right now.
Yes.
And where did this all start?
In Virginia. It started in Augusta, went from Augusta to Albemarle, and then from Albemarle to Louisa.
So tell us a little bit about what happened.
I'm a victim of domestic violence and assault from my ex-boyfriend, and in those 3 different counties that I had lived in, he had assaulted me and threatened me.
Now I saw a lot of the pictures you showed me with the bruises and such, and there was some pretty bad bruises on your arm and your shoulder. And you were also assaulted with a vehicle, right?
Yes. October 13th and October 15th of last year, 2016, we were living in Albemarle County together, and he wanted to go out, and it was late. I didn't want to go out, but I didn't want to fight with him, so we went out, and in the course of that, argument ensued, and then in return, when I tried to get away, wanted to just pull the car over and just get out. He didn't want me to. Then he tried to push me out of the car.
So recently you went to a hearing in Louisa County, Virginia about some of the assaults that took place. And during that hearing there was some, you said you went to a recess. There was a break, right? And
yes.
Then you came back to some very interesting stuff that happened. Could you walk us through?
Yeah, after the Commonwealth attorney, who I refer to as the DA, questioned me, we recessed. The judge recessed for like 10 or 15 minutes. And when we came back from recess, then it was Will's court-appointed lawyer who had the opportunity to cross-examine me and question me. And in doing so, they asked about the assault, and then listened to an audio. That clearly you can hear the assault and hear, various threats and stuff that were being made by him to me. Then afterwards, I thought it was over. I thought we were done and I was going to get off the stand, but no, they took it a step, his lawyer took it a step further and questioned me as to if I ever cut myself, did I ever put marks on myself as a result of me hitting myself, or, and then
did you ever inflict harm to yourself?
And then
right.
Accusing somebody else of doing it. And of course, I said no, because I'm not a person who does that.
Right.
I'm not a cutter, and I'm not an abuser.
Right.
And I'm not an abuser in the sense that I abuse myself and then I'm going to blame it on somebody else. I mean, that, in my own rational mind, that's just insane.
Right, absolutely, absolutely.
And so he asked me that again, and I said no again. And then he said, "Are you sure?" And he said, "Are you sure of that?" And I said, "Yes." And then he said, "Do you believe in the paranormal?" And of course I said yes. But...
And at this point your lawyer, the DA...
The defense lawyer.
The defense lawyer must have objected.
The Commonwealth attorney, who I refer to as DA, yes, he stood up and he objected immediately. But the judge allowed it based on the audio.
And I heard this audio, and I have to say, there was a fight going on in the audio, but there was nothing paranormal about the audio at all. So he said, based on the audio, he's going to allow this line of questioning that involves the paranormal.
Right. And so I just kind of was stunned. I think I looked at the Commonwealth Attorney for kind of guidance, like, and then looked at the judge, and then looked down, obviously, because I did everything I possibly could to not look at the defense lawyer or Will, because I'm done, you know what I mean?
Right.
Part of my life, you know, I'm done with, and, so then he asked me again, when the judge had said that he, you know, was going to allow it based on the audio and all that, you know, stuff, that he was going to allow that line, you know, he was going to allow it.
And at that point, the DA just kind of
put his head down.
Put his head down, like,
yeah,
kind of disbelief that, you know, they were allowing.
I didn't know that at the time. That's why he put his head down.
Right.
But I found out afterwards that yes, that's why he put his head down. But then, you know, his lawyer asked me again if I believed in the paranormal, and I said yes, but I said I believe in good spirits and I believe in bad spirits. You can't just believe in just the bad without the good. If you believe in one, you got to believe in the other. And then that was the one time I did look over, and then I saw Will, and Will was like he was agreeing with me.
Right, right. That's odd.
Yeah, I thought that was odd too. So then they asked me, he asked me, he says, okay, so based on that, he said, did some things happen to you? And then I said, what do you mean by things? And then he said, well, did these so-called bad spirits, or whatever you call them, did they harm you? Did they do anything to you? And I said, yes. And again, I'm looking at the Commonwealth Attorney for, like, aren't you going to object or something, you know, because I just felt like it was just, wasn't right, because this stuff that happened to me happened between 5-6 years ago.
Before you even knew him.
Before I even knew
right.
Will, before I even knew Will even existed. He wasn't even present when it was happening.
Right.
And that was the other thing that I had stated too. I said, yes, things did happen to me, but I wasn't alone.
Right.
So I made that very clear, and wanted the judge to know that I wasn't alone. So in other words, I couldn't have done it to myself and then said it was somebody else, because whoever I was with would have seen me do it to myself.
Right. And just to kind of interject, what she's referring to was in Phoenix, Arizona.
Right.
Like you said, before you even met the ex-boyfriend, you had a paranormal team come in to the place you were living at the time, because you were actually attacked by something in the shower. And I had spoken with the landlord, the person who owned the house, and she was there when Susan came out of the bathroom with a bite mark on your thigh in a place that
I clearly
no
couldn't
way
have done
could
myself.
have done that.
You know, and you can clearly
Right.
see, you know, sitting here and seeing me, I can't even bend down to touch my thigh, let alone get a good grip with my mouth.
Right. I don't think Marilyn Manson could even get up that high.
And there was no, and you got verification of this too when you talked to Linda, that she has no small kids.
Right.
So there was no small kids even in home to say that it could have been done by a small kid.
Right. And there was no one in the bathroom with you. Like she saw
No.
when you came out of the bathroom, there was no one else in there. So
No.
there was no. So you had a team come in and investigate.
Because
and
of
that
what was
team,
happening to me, I had some scratches on my back, and then I had a 666 on my back, and then I had some strangulation marks on my neck. So because of that, I pleaded with Linda and her husband that we needed to investigate this. Why?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know at the time why it was happening to me, I mean, I do know now, I know now as a result of the paranormal investigative team that came out to investigate. So they came out, they met us, they came out, we thought it was just going to be one time, but they ended up coming out again because based on what they got the first time that they came out, they had to come back to get more. And they
actually validated some of the claims.
Yes, it's on the website, it's on their website, and there is even an audio of the anomaly, the black anomaly, which I had referred to as like a black mask or a black cloud. They actually caught that on and that's on their website. Mm-hmm. They even posted some actual voices that they caught, you know, of different things that they were saying.
Right.
And I found out afterwards, when it was over, that the reason why it was happening to me was because I was sensitive.
Right. And her husband was even touched as well.
Yes.
So it wasn't just.
And he had heard voices too.
Yeah. So there were other witnesses.
Like the voice would mimic his wife.
Right.
And to something that she always does when she comes home from work, she'd always say, "Hello, I'm home." And I would be in my room or something reading or whatever I'd be doing, another part of the house, and then he would hear it. He would hear it thinking that she's home. He'll say, "Oh, Linda's home." So I'd come out and go kind of, you know, to go greet her at the door. There's no car and there's no Linda.
Right. That's interesting.
But he had heard her, you know.
Right.
I swore it was her.
Now, his lawyer, coming back to the courtroom, his lawyer, this is what he was referring to. These scratches, these marks, this paranormal attack that you've had in a different state.
He then asked me if I had ever been possessed.
Before you've ever met him. So the judge allowed that questioning, and then what happened when you responded to that?
Well, and then his lawyer asked me if I had ever been possessed. Of course not. Never have been possessed. And God forbid, I pray it never happens to me. And he said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Why would you ask me that?" And then I said, "If I can ask you a question, why would you ask me that?" And he said, "You know, have you ever accused somebody of, have you ever done this to yourself and, you know, and you blame it on somebody else?" And I said, "Who would I blame it on? I didn't know him then."
Right.
I kept trying to go back to him because that's what the whole case was about. We were supposed to be there in court to discuss the assault and battery that he did to me on New Year's Eve into New Year's Day, the morning of New Year's Day. And it just totally got like just
sidetracked.
Seemed like it just got like sidetracked, like that just got pushed to the side, and now all of a sudden the paranormal that happened to me is they're trying to make that the focus of the whole thing. In other words, what they're trying to say is that I'm possessed, that because of the things that happened to me, that it's possible that that demon, and this is what Will refers to him as, the demon attached itself to me, and I took it with me to Virginia. Right. Because it's attached to me. Well, I have a Bible here. I'm not possessed. I can hold a Bible.
Right.
I can hug the Bible, kiss the Bible, no problem. And I've been to church. I love church. And if I was possessed at all, even slightly, I would have a problem going into a church.
Right.
I wouldn't even be able to go walk into it.
So this is interesting, a court case where we have to actually bring in the paranormal, bring in a paranormal investigator to, for one, testify to the existence pretty much of paranormal activity, and then whether or not, perhaps the question may arise, whether or not you're possessed, or I believe you're possessed.
Right.
So what we're here today, we're going to do an interview, and we're going to ask some questions and do some tests to find out whether or not Susan is possessed, so that we can further present that in the court if need be, and just to clear that up.
Yes, because we're going to court again on December 27th, and that's going to be at 10 o'clock in the morning at the Louisa Circuit Court, because during their line of questioning, they didn't present no evidence to back up whatever that they were questioning me. Well, he couldn't, because like I said, he wasn't present 4 or 5 years ago. I didn't even know him then.
Right.
So I, in return, got with the DA, which is Joshua Lauren, and got with him and told him I had photographs to what they were referring to. And so I sent those to him for him to look at. Sent him, and then I told him that if he wanted to, I could put him in touch with the actual paranormal group, Paranormal Society out of Phoenix, that came out and did an investigation. Like I said, they not only did one investigation, they had to come back and they wanted to do a second one, because of the amount of evidence that they were collecting.
Right.
And that they were getting. And they really wanted to catch this black mask that I always refer to it as. But I had a name for him. His name was William. And I knew that, because I guess being sensitive. And they were able to get that on their whatever that voice.
Just a voice recorder.
The voice recorder that they were using, yeah. And he verified that.
That's interesting. And also, I think we should note that one thing we would ask, of course, and I'm sure the court would ask, you've had psychological evaluations.
Yes, I've had 2, actually. And these were done before we even went to court, before this even came out.
Right.
Before we even had this hearing and the judge allowed this in, I went and I had a psych evaluation done at Region 10 in Virginia, and I passed that. And then because of what was happening to me from his family, the threats and being followed and, and stuff, I got with my sons. And so then my sons encouraged me to come back here. So I'm here in North Carolina. So I had one done here in North Carolina at Monarch.
Right.
Monarch Mental Health. I went and I had a psych evaluation done there, and it was the same thing. So I was clearly, told that I was sane. But the only thing is that I did have PTSD based on, and then of course when I asked why, they said based on the trauma. From the abuse that I sustained from Will, from my ex-boyfriend, and then also the distress disorder, the anxiety that I get is, tied into that, but not because I'm possessed or, or I'm insane, like I'm crazy or I'm nuts. That was the other thing that my psychologist, Stephanie, said, that if I was to be known to be one to hurt myself in any way, whether it's cutting, hitting myself or whatever, that it wouldn't just happen during my relationship with Will. It would have happened before him, and it still would be going on after him. And there's clearly not. I mean, I can show. It's like,
right.
There's no scars to show that I'm a cutter anywhere.
Right. Absolutely.
So, I don't know.
So some interesting stuff, and we're going to go on with our tests, our questioning about possession and such, and it'll be interesting definitely to see what happens in court.
Yeah, because you're going to be called as a rebuttal to kind of, as a person who has looked at the photographs in question that are going to be in question, that was brought up from his defense lawyer. And then the audio, you listening to the audio, to be able to, if you could decipher out of that if I sounded like a person that was possessed and not just a person who's upset from being abused and hit.
Right. And if you were possessed then, you'd still be possessed now.
Exactly.
So we'll find out. Have you ever participated in any kind of ritual?
Like a seance?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Have you ever used an Ouija board?
No.
Tarot cards?
No.
Right. And they don't respond to you in any weird way, right? Like the animals don't act afraid of you or anything like that?
No.
Right. Okay. So what we're going to do is I have 2 ambient thermometers here because one of the common reports is that often when there's a demonic presence, the temperature will change in the area around the presence. When the person gets angry or upset, you know, they may feel that spirit. Cause it to do that. We have a digital voice recorder going. Do you have any recurring dreams?
Just my PTSD.
Now, is this particular dream one that you have over and over and over, or is it always different?
No.
Okay,
it's the
same
same
dream.
Okay, and that would be natural, of course, because of the PTSD.
Right, right.
Do you have any thoughts that you feel aren't your own?
No. Like thoughts of like
any kind of thoughts that you
killing
just
myself or
hurting other people?
No.
I mean, that you feel like
that was one of the questions.
Like
that
a
was
thought
on
pops into your head, and it's like, I don't know where that thought came from. That's not me.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Do you ever have any suicidal thoughts?
No.
Okay.
You're asking a lot of questions that the psychologist
Yeah.
in my mental evaluation asked you.
Right.
A lot of times, demonic possession and psychological problems can be closely related too.
Yeah.
Now, when he was assaulting me, I wished I was strong enough to, when I fought back,
Yeah.
that I could hurt him to where he would stop.
Right,
No, I don't know if that counts.
No,
Psychologist
but
said no. Like, that's not one of those where I'm wishing to do harm on him, but I'm wishing that he would just stop.
Right, right. Yeah, no, I would imagine that would be perfectly natural
And
in
I,
that
you know,
situation.
and I do will admit to that. That,
Right.
yeah, I wish I was strong enough to where I could have done more in the sense to keep him from coming back at me.
Yeah.
Do you believe in Satan?
I believe there is a Satan.
Okay.
I don't believe in him.
Right, but
I
in his
believe there is
existence.
one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I believe that he exists. Yeah.
All right.
And I believe he has followers.
Who do you believe God is?
Jesus.
Who do you
The
believe
one who
Jesus
died on the
is?
cross.
Why did he die on the cross?
So that we could be saved and live for eternity.
Can you read Psalm 19?
From what verse? What verse?
Just from 19, from the start.
No. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament, yeah, sheweth his handiwork. Day unto day.
Do you know what's in my left pocket?
No.
Okay.
He's trying to say I was possessed that night.
You'd still be
Okay.
possessed, though. I mean, you haven't seen anybody.
But I couldn't fight him off.
You haven't had an exorcism, have you?
No.
So if you were possessed then, you'd still be possessed now.
Yeah, most likely there would be.
Yeah, the demon's not going to go
And you
in.
haven't shown any, you haven't been able to do anything
I
extraordinary.
can't
or
levitate
have any,
or
you know,
anything.
yeah, move anything exceptionally
No.
heavy that you wouldn't normally be able
And
to do.
I'm not gonna lie, I've tried.
Yeah.
Right.
I've tried to sit here, like, or even in my room and just stare at something and just try to will it to move, and it doesn't. And if I was possessed, I would be able, I wouldn't have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know the Lord's Prayer? Can you recite that?
Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. And then I can't remember the rest.
And forgive us our trespasses,
Forgive us our trespasses,
as we
we
forgive
forgive
those.
who trespass against us.
Lead us not into temptation.
Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom,
And the
Kingdom.
and the power,
and the
and
glory.
the glory forever. Amen.
If there is a demon in here,
Okay.
we command him to show himself in Jesus' name. Is there a demon in here? If there is, we command you to show yourself in Jesus' name. We demand that you show yourself.
Come out wherever you are. I don't know, was I supposed to say anything?
Sounds like there's a demon in my stomach. I keep looking at her sheets cut. It's starting to get
That
hungry.
must be a sheets in here.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And in this current location, there hasn't been any sort of odds, unexplained scratches or bruising or anything of that nature, correct?
To me or anybody? No.
Any strange smells?
No.
Do you have any questions?
No, I think that pretty much everything that you said has summed it up. Most of the things are, are the type of other things that you might witness would be, people will growl or people will hiss or make strange animalistic noises that they wouldn't normally make. But these are more of a full-on possession sort of thing. They will writhe around on the floor. Sometimes people say that their faces even become a little contorted. They don't look like themselves. Their eyes will glaze.
Did I
over
look like I
and
had a
become
problem with
completely
any
black.
questions you were asking me? I mean, other than I was like, you had to explain a couple, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
No,
But I
and I
always
mean, you're able
envisioned
to.
somebody who was possessed too would have some sort of an odor too. Like, you would sense something's wrong with that person right away.
Right.
What I'm pleading for is help here, because abuse really does happen, and it's not paranormal. It's not, based on somebody being possessed or anything like that. But I need some help because I'm afraid that the court systems are going to listen to this or hear this and feel that I'm crazy, and I'm not crazy. I was involved with somebody who obviously has a temper problem, anger problem, didn't have the best of life, being raised growing up because, he came from a broken home, mother and father divorced, and different men in and out of his life. I tried to say that was, maybe a lot of his problem, that he just didn't like his childhood and his upbringing, and, took it out on me when I tried to show him the upside to that. And for the judges to be able to say that, find him not guilty, yeah, it's going to cause an uproar in me because the stuff that happened to me paranormal-wise had nothing to do with the assault.
Right,
So
absolutely.
it's going to make me feel like something's wrong then. Something's wrong in the justice system. There's something wrong in the judges on the bench because they're supposed to be all about the evidence at hand and not what happened 5 years ago or 6 years ago. You can't put paranormal incidents together with an assault and battery case because they just, if it was a paranormal incident, it would be a lot worse. I think.
Right.
In my mind, it would be a lot worse. And could it have been? Yes.
Right.
But then I gotta wonder if he's the one that's really possessed. I've even questioned myself about that. Could it be him? Because he's the violent one. He's the one that goes in these outrages, can be totally fine for a month or so, and then all of a sudden just flip out. Like, I've really often wondered that because his eyes change colors when he gets angry, and I've seen it, but maybe it really is him, and maybe he knows it, and he's just putting it off on me to shift, so that eyes aren't looking at him.
Right.
It's shifting the attention to me. Because why? Because I'm the one who pressed charges. I'm the one who is trying to stand up and say, enough is enough, stop, Yeah. But he's the one that keeps wanting to drag it on and keeps wanting to continue it and continue it and continue it. And for some reason, the judges keep allowing him to continue it. And why? We're going at this almost a year now. It's been actually a year since these incidents have happened. It's been over a year now. And we're going well into 2018 before it's going to be over with. And that's if he doesn't continue to appeal it.
Right.
So it's like, when is a judge going to say, this is enough?
Enough is enough.
Right.
And we did an extensive interview here, and we used our line of questioning based on some information found in scriptures as well as from some exorcists and some Catholic priests and such, and I can't say that we found any evidence of any kind of demonic activity here at this point in time. So definitely no evidence of Susan being possessed.
So I would just plead for the courts or anybody who's willing to listen to this that they, you know, help me here in trying to, you know, put a story to this, put it out there, because I feel like I'm being victimized all over again. You know, not just from Will, my ex-boyfriend, but now from what may be the court system, and it's unfair. So I need some help, because some publicity is better than none at all if it's going to get, you know, stop them and get them to bring them back to reality and back to the point, because, you know.
That's right. And I gotta say in closing as well, I'm glad you weren't possessed. Because that would have been a bad night.
It would be a bad night for my kids that are around me too.
Yeah.
So.
It's a good thing.
We might not have made it to Sheets.
Right. Definitely have my sights on Sheets. So.
Yeah.
Ruin the night.
No problem here. But thank you.